Excerpt from local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexpected murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story.
I had a bad dream and woke up in the middle of the night. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers and tried to get back to sleep. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed. There, in the little ray of light, illuminating from between my curtains, were a pair of two eyes. These weren't regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long, horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there, watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. He said,
"Go to sleep."
I let out a scream, and that's what sent him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked, I punched, I rolled around, trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw a knife, and it went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. They drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing toward the back of my house was broken. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. Those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile. It will never leave my head.
Police are still on the lookout for this man. If you see anyone that fits the description in this story, please contact your local police department. Jeff and his family had just moved to a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain, though. A new, better house. What's not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by.
Hello, I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and to introduce my son.
She turns around and calls her son over.
Billy, these are our new neighbors.
Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard.
Well, I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter, and my two sons, Jeff and Lou.
They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object, when their mother said they would love to. When Jeff and his family were done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid."
Jeff, we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now, we're going to that party, and that's final.
Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there looking at his ceiling, when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him down to get his stuff, and he walked down to get it. The next day, Jeff walked down the stairs to get breakfast and got ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain. But once again, he dismissed it. As he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then, all of a sudden, some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. "Hey, what the hell?" The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seemed to be about 16. 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans.
Wow, wow, wow. Looks like we got some new meat.
Suddenly, 2 other kids appeared. One was super skinny, the other was huge.
Well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Keith.
Jeff and Lou looked up to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face, the kind that you would expect a sidekick to have.
And he's Troy.
He looked over to the fat kid. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling.
And I am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare. If you catch my drift.
Lou stood up, ready to punch the light out of the kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him.
Tisk, tisk, tisk. I'd had hoped you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way.
The kid walked up to Lou and took the wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. "Listen here, you little punk. Give my bro's wallet back or else." Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife.
Oh? And what will you do?
Just as he finished his sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed at him, but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach. And Troy went down. As he fell, he puked all over the place. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff.
"Jeff, how'd you..."
They saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing, so they started running as fast as they could. They ran, and they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of that as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was, the urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. He felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school, and even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop, and how now he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. When he got home, his parents asked him how his day was, and he said, in a somewhat ominous tone, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find 2 police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look.
Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids. That it wasn't regular fighting. And that they were stabbed. Stabbed, son.
Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. "Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knife on me and Lou."
"Son, we found 3 kids, 2 stabbed, 1 having a bruise on his stomach. We have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now what does that tell us?"
Jeff knew it was no use. He could say him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof that it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself, or Lou.
"Son, call down your brother."
Jeff couldn't do it, since it was him that beat up all those kids. "Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up those kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me." The cop looked at his partner, and they both nodded.
"Well, kid, I can't exactly make this call, but Looks like a year in juvie.
Wait! They all looked up to see Lou holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou.
It was me. I beat up those little punks. I have the marks to prove it.
He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises as if he was in a struggle.
Son, just put the knife down.
Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No! Lou! It was me! I did it!
Poor bro. Trying to take the blame for what
Lou,
I did.
Tell them it was me! Tell them!
Take
I was
them
the one who
away.
beat up those
Jeff,
kids!
please. You don't have to lie. We know it was Lou. You can stop.
Lou! Lou, tell them! Tell them it was me! A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled up to the driveway, seeing Jeff's face, and knowing something was wrong.
Son? Son, what is it?
Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying, and instead Jeff's mother walked his father into the house to break the bad news to him, as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked and sad and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just wanted to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off of his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is until Sunday, when Jeff is woke up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face.
Jeff, it's the day.
What? What's today? Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some other kid's party after...
Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past days. Now, get dressed.
Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get ready herself. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt, a pair of jeans, and walked down the stairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought why they would ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party.
Son, is that all you're going to wear?
It's better than wearing too much. His mother pushed down the feelings to yell at him and hid it with a smile.
Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression.
Jeff grunted and went back to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes!
Just pick out something.
He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants that he had for special occasions, and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it, though. He looked around and found only striped and patterned shirts, none of which go with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on.
You're wearing that?
No time to change. Let's just go.
She herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and at it appeared Barbara, just like his parents, way overdressed. As they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults. No kids.
The kids are out in the yard. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them?
Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Suddenly, a kid came up to him and handed him a toy gun and a hat.
Hey, mister, you want to play?
No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. The kid looked at him with that weird puppy dog face.
Please?
Fine. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot at the kids. At first he thought it was totally ridiculous. But then he started to actually have fun. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time that he had done anything that took his mind off of Lou. So he played with the kids for a while. Until he heard a noise. A weird, rolling noise. And then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence with their skateboards. Jeff dropped the fake guns and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred.
Hello. Jeff, is it? We have some unfinished business.
I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you. You got my brother sent to JDC.
Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses the other day, but not today.
Randy rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched Jeff in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off of him, and they both rose to their feet. Kids were screaming. Parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets.
No one interrupts or guns will fly.
Randy pulled the knife on Jeff and stabbed him in the shoulder. Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face, and after 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him.
Need some help.
He picks Jeff up by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand, he's kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood.
Come on, Jeff. Fight me.
He picks Jeff up and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head.
Fight!
He throws Jeff back into the living room.
Come on, Jeff, look at me. I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit here and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed. Oh, finally. You stand and fight.
Jeff is now on his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while.
Finally, he's up.
He runs at Jeff. And that's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop as Randy gasps for breath. Jeff hammers down on him. Punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath. And dies. Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying children, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff, Jeff sees the guns trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on him, each shot missing. Jeff runs up the stairs and hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final rounds of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom. He grabs the towel rack and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith rush in, knives ready. Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now all that's left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He drops the knife and grabs Jeff by the neck, pushes him to the wall. A tub of bleach falls down on top of them from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both start to scream, Jeff wiping his eyes as best he could. He pulls back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. What's so funny? Keith pulls out a lighter and switches it on.
What's funny is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol.
Jeff's eyes widen as Keith throws the lighter at him. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignite the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Jeff let out a terrible screech as he caught fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol made him into a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everybody started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground, nearly dead. And the last thing that Jeff saw was his mother and the other parents trying to extinguish the flames. And that's when he passed out. When Jeff woke up, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. And when he tried to get up, it fell out. And a nurse rushed in.
I don't think you can go to bed just yet.
She put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother.
Honey, are you okay? Oh, honey, I have great news. After all the witnesses told the police that Keith confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go.
This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway, remembering the tube coming out of his arm.
He'll be out by tomorrow, and then you two will be able to be together again.
Jeff's mother hugged Jeff and said her goodbyes. The next couple of weeks were those where Jeff was visited by his family And then came the day where his bandages were to be removed. His family were all there to see it, what he would look like. As the doctors unwrapped the bandages from Jeff's face, everyone was on the edge of their seats. They waited until the last bandage holding the cover over his face was almost removed. The doctor quickly pulls the cloth, letting the rest fall from Jeff's face. Jeff's mother screams at the sight of his face. Lou and Jeff's dad stare awestruck. What? What happened? What happened to my face? He rushed out of bed and ran to the bathroom. He looked in the mirror and saw the cause of the distress. His face. It's horrible. His lips were burnt in a deep shade of red. His face was turned to a pure white color, and his hair singed from brown to black. He slowly put his hand up to his face. It had a sort of leathery feel to it now. He looked back at his family, then back at the mirror.
Jeff, it's not that bad.
Not that bad? It's perfect! His family were equally surprised. Jeff started laughing uncontrollably, and his parents noticed that his left eye and hand were twitching.
Jeff, are you okay?
Okay! I've never felt more happy! Look at me! This face goes perfectly with me! He couldn't stop laughing. He stroked his face, feeling it, looking at it in the mirror. What caused this? When Jeff was fighting Randy, something in his mind, something in his sanity, snapped. Now he was left as a crazy killing machine. His parents didn't know.
Doctor, is my son all right? You know, in the head?
Oh, yes. This behavior is typical for patients that have taken very large amounts of painkillers. If his behavior doesn't change in a few weeks, just bring him back here, and we'll give him a full psychological test.
Oh, thank you, Doctor. Jeff, sweetie, it's time to go.
Okay, Mom. Jeff looks away from the mirror. His face still formed into a crazy smile. His mother took him by the shoulder, took him to get his clothes.
This is what came in.
Jeff's mom looked down to see the black dress pants and white hoodie her son wore. Now they were clean of blood, and now stitched together. Jeff's mom led him to his room and made him put his clothes on, and then they left, not knowing that this was their final day of life. Later that night, Jeff's mom woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was, and when she looked into the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheek.
Jeff, what are you doing?
I couldn't keep smiling, Mommy. It hurt after a while, so now I can smile forever. Jeff's mother noticed his eyes, ringed in black.
Jeff, your eyes!
His eyes seemingly never closed. I couldn't see my face. I got tired, and my eyes started to close, but I burned out the eyelids so I could forever see myself. My new face. Jeff's mother slowly started to back away, seeing that her son had gone insane. What's wrong, Mommy? Aren't I beautiful?
Yes, son. Yes, you are. Let me go get Daddy, so he can see your face.
She ran into the room and shook Jeff's dad awake.
Honey, get the gun.
She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway, holding a knife. Mommy, you lied. That was the last thing they heard. Then Jeff rushed them with a knife, gutting both of them. His brother Lou woke up, startled by some noise. He didn't hear anything, so he just shut his eyes and tried to go back to sleep. As he was on the border of slumber, he got the strangest feeling that someone was watching him. He looked up before Jeff's hands covered his mouth. He slowly raised the knife, ready to plunge it into Lou, and Lou thrashed here and there, trying to escape Jeff's grip. Shh. Just go to sleep. April 25th. I woke up abruptly, sweat dripping from my brow. I could feel the presence again. His presence. I looked around my room. I know I'm being watched. It's not anywhere to be seen. Damn, this is the third night in a row I've been awoken like this. The fear is starting to take over my mind. Something out there is stalking me. Something wants me. But I should back up and tell this from the beginning. I'm 16 years old. I moved into this house with my family 7 years ago. It's about 30 minutes outside of town, so we're fairly isolated. My parents love living out here. They say it's peaceful and pretty. I hate it. Not as much during the day as during the night. I have always been scared of the dark. It's my number one phobia. I hate not being able to see, and out here at night there's no light other than the moon and stars. No warm, comforting glow of street lamps, no headlights slowly moving up and down the streets. Just a hazy darkness. And it's especially dark during a new moon. And that's when I first encountered it. That thing. I had a bunch of friends over, and after dark, we all decided to play some airsoft capture the flag. It was a new moon, which made it especially dark and creepy. No light piercing the inky blackness except for the flashlights on the barrels of our airsoft pistols, and the occasional zip of glow-in-the-dark airsoft pellets flying at the targets. We were all having a great time. I had grabbed the other team's flag and was rushing back to my base when I heard a sound that made my blood run cold. A scream of terror, coming from about 30 feet to my right. A flash of white was rushing away from the sound, and I changed direction and rushed towards the noise, aiming my flashlight at the source. My friend Jacob was sitting in the dirt, holding his bleeding leg, obviously in pain. The cut was deep. And another friend, Matt, and I rushed him inside, where we sat on the edge of the bathtub and began to wash and dress the cut. We asked him what had happened. Some creature had scratched him, he said. He didn't get a good look at it, but just saw a flash of white. At first, I assumed that it was just a possum or something. That was before I saw it again. The second time I was alone. It was the middle of the night. Not a new moon, thankfully, but still eerie. I had insomnia, a rather common problem for me. It was 2 a.m., and I had given up all hope of getting any sleep. So I went downstairs to the living room and popped in a DVD, and as I lay on the couch, my mind lost in the world of Inception, one of my dogs started barking. I thought nothing of it. Barking in the middle of the night is a basic routine for them. Then my other dog joined in. I mean, no big deal. But I noticed something. This bark was a lot more menacing than usual. It was more of a guttural, growling bark, and the bark dogs make when they're threatened. I turned on the back porch light and stepped outside, crept outside. I called for them. Jake! Zoe! Come here! And I saw what they were barking at. It looked like a human, crouched there in the grass. It was probably around 4 feet tall, with bare, pale skin, long, bony limbs. I studied it for about 5 seconds, and it stared back at me. I'll never forget its eyes. Dark, almost like empty sockets. Its cold gaze washed over me, as if it was sizing me up. Then it slowly started to move towards me. I was almost paralyzed by fear, but was about to get back in the house. I locked the door behind me, rushed to my parents' room. They were convinced I had a nightmare, but I know the truth. This was the first time I had fully seen the creature that would soon push me to the brink of insanity. I didn't see that thing again for quite some time. I started to think that maybe my parents were right and it was just a bad dream. I was really sleep-deprived after all, but deep down inside I knew that I had seen something. But a few weeks ago, I was on some website my friend Derek had recommended, and I saw a picture that shocked me. It was my creature. The one that I had seen. The website claimed this creature was called the Rake, and that it stalks and mauls its victims. The moment I saw the article, my blood ran cold. Could I have seen this creature? The thought haunted me, refusing to leave my mind. I saw it again for the first time in months. Last week. I had woken up in the middle of the night again. Immediately, I felt that something was wrong. The house was too quiet. I felt very unsettled. I got out of bed, walked to the window, raised the blinds. It was very dark outside, but I could make something out. The creature was outside, scratching at something on the ground, and immediately I opened the window and yelled at the thing. It looked up at me, caught my eyes for a moment, then rushed off, crawling on all fours, very close to the ground. When I went out to see what it was scratching at the next morning, I found something that chills me to the bone. The mangled, half-eaten corpse of my dog, Zoe. My parents think that it was a mountain lion, but I know the truth. The so-called Rake, the bastard creature, killed my dog. The last few nights have been terrifying. I've woken up in a cold sweat each night, knowing the damn thing is watching me. I feel its presence. I know it wants me now. And I have no idea what to do. I'm terrified beyond belief, and I'm helpless. My parents keep telling me that I'm imagining things, but I'm not, damn it. I mean, I know what I've seen, and I know that it wants me. That's why I'm recording this at 3 a.m. If anything happens to me, I want people to know. I'll update as soon as anything happens. May 2nd. The last week was a whirlwind of terror. I'm constantly in fear now. I know it's always watching me around every corner, everywhere I go. Every night I feel its presence. Some nights more than others. I don't know exactly what it wants from me, but it wants something. I saw it again for the first time in a week today. I stayed home sick. I still feel like shit. I think it's making me sick. I was lying on the couch watching TV, constantly looking over my shoulders because I know he's always watching me. I have a shotgun by my side, a benefit of living in the country. I got it from the garage. It's loaded, in case the thing, which I've decided to call the Rake, tries to attack. I knew it would soon. I heard a noise outside and cocked my gun. I stepped outside to investigate. Nothing. Damn it. I decided to patrol the perimeter of the house just in case. Walked all the way around. Nothing. I stepped back inside and the smell hit me. It was It was a stench of death, rotting. I held the gun out in front of me, slowly made my way up the stairs, turned the corner to my room. It was crouched in the corner facing away from me. It slowly tilted its head towards me. Then it spoke. It was a high, shrill voice. I'm not sure exactly what it said to me. I didn't hesitate to pull the trigger, but it moved at almost superhuman speed and barreled into me, knocking me down, and I saw it jump off the second-story balcony to the living room floor, charged out the door. My arms were bleeding bad, so I grabbed the shirt and pushed it to my arm to try to stop the bleeding. I rushed outside, the gun still in my hands. It was gone. "Go to hell!" I screamed. I stepped back inside. I saw the blood. Not my blood, its blood. I grabbed the dog it hadn't killed. Jake put his nose to the blood. He picked up the scent and started moving towards the woods near my house. I didn't think twice and followed. We rushed through the woods. Around a mile away from the house, Jake started to whimper. I sent him back. This was my job. I started to explore the area, my fingers twitching on the trigger, terrified. After about half an hour of searching, I saw something weird. A small area of ground that was different. It seemed covered up. I walked over, swept away the grass, and I was right. There was a board under the grass. I pulled up the board, exposing a hole. A rusty old ladder led down. Against all better judgment, curiosity got the better of me. I slung the shotgun over my back and lowered myself down. It was a tunnel. It wasn't well lit, a few candles, but it was light enough to see the blood-smeared walls. Oh, the smell was awful. I could see paintings in the blood, disturbing things, stuff I never wanted to see. I walked through, towards the source of more light. I could see a sort of room. When I stepped in, I wanted to throw up. There were animal parts all over the floor, on the walls. This must have been the feeding room. I turned around, retching, and there it stood, right behind me. It reached toward me, and I blacked out. I woke up in my room about 30 minutes ago now, alone. No cut on my arm, no blood anywhere. Decided to record everything while it's still fresh in my mind. Parents still aren't home. It's dark outside. I'm terrified to leave my room now. Maybe it didn't all happen. Maybe I'm going insane. Paranoia is here to stay. I realized what the rake said in my room when he talked to me. It wants sacrifice. Mom, Dad, if you hear this after I'm gone, then get the hell away. I don't know where to, but just leave this place. May 7th. It's over now. He's satisfied. Sacrifice is made. And I'm alone. He was with me three nights. He just stood next to my bed, watches me, and sometimes he'll whisper to me. He told me he wanted sacrifice. Bloody sacrifice. He said that I had to do it. I knew he was right. They didn't matter to me. I can be alone. My parents thought I was going crazy. Little did they know. Last night I told him I'd do it. I'd give him a sacrifice, a good sacrifice, so that he'd be happy, and I told them to come with me. And I wanted to show them a pretty spot that I had found, and they walked with me and walked to the rake hole, and I opened it up and pulled out a gun, and I told them to go inside. They asked me what I was doing, and I told them that he wanted to see them. They went into the hole, and we walked into the tunnel, and she was crying, and then Mr. Rake came out of his hiding spot, and he looked at me with his black eyes, and he smiled. And then he killed them. They screamed a bit. I didn't care. He was happy now. He pointed at the hole, and I knew it was time to leave. And I'm back home now, all alone in my dark room, and I'm not scared of the dark anymore. I like the dark. It reminds me of my friend the Rake. I'm okay. I'm okay. Damn it, I'm not okay. I just led my parents to their death. I'm crazy. I have the gun to my head now. I'm going to pull the trigger. I'm looking across my room, and he's crouched there. He's crouched there, smiling at me, telling me to do it. That he's still hungry, and he wants one more sacrifice. And I'm gonna give it to him. Goodbye. So you're with your honey, and you're making out when the phone rings. You answer it, and the voice says, "What are you doing with my daughter?" You tell your girl, and she says, "My dad is dead." Then who was phone? We've all been there. You've just gone to a certain place at a certain time on a certain date, done a special thing, and the thing you suspected would happen has just fucking happened. Not to mention the fact that you've just seen whatever the fuck it is that lives in your mirror, been told in detail how you're going to die, and the highly demonic and invincible thing you summoned is headed towards you. Also, your family is dead. Your friends are all missing, and you're being framed by someone with access to your bedroom. What the fuck do you do now, sweet protagonist? Well, you've come to the right place to find out. These are the simple rules one must follow in order to firstly not become the victim of creepypasta, and furthermore, to come out kicking if the worst does happen. With the help of this guide, you too can be merely a catatonic, traumatized wreck, as opposed to the guy currently being worn as a coat by some dude who roams a lot. Just keep these simple rules in mind. 1. Mirrors and darkness don't mix. 2. Actually, mirrors are a general no in creepypasta world. There is nothing more sinister. 3. There is 0 chance of survival if you look at the thing that nobody else can see or answer its question incorrectly. 4. If you are alone at night in a creepy mental institution, take some time to consider what the fuck you're doing there. Then, if it is appropriate to do so, leave. 5. Avoid going to places where everyone else who has went there never came back or died inexplicably. 6. If someone stops your vehicle at night and asks to come with you, it would probably be in your best interest to politely decline. 7. Killing is the last method of survival. Use it sparingly, but without fear. 8. Who was phone? Is always a good thing to ponder. Also, who the hell answers a phone while kissing a dead person's sexy daughter? A douche. That's who. 9. Get a simple .38 revolver, load it with 2 silver bullets. If you really feel that there's no chance to come out alive of a situation, take 1 shot at whatever it is that's threatening you, and if that doesn't work, you still have 1 shot to become a tragic hero with. 10. Area 51 is simply too well guarded to let you get in, or let any alien out. 11. When going to a hotel, try to steer clear of unauthorized areas. If you couldn't resist but you saw a red thing, take some time to consider the price range and hotel standard on your next visit. Have you ever stayed at a haunted Hilton? 12. When booking your hotel stay, TripAdvisor can be an invaluable tool in deeming whether your choice is the scene of a multiple murder, full of dead people, or built to the mouth of hell. Local newspapers can also be helpful. 13. Invoking demons, speaking weird tongues, and performing rituals of any kind is considered dangerous. Refrain from doing that, especially around abandoned warehouses, churches, psychiatric institutions, woods, and your home in front of a mirror at night. 14. When going to a new area, environmental understanding is key to survival. Ask around for cursed places, legends, dangers, and other details. Listen to the local people's advice, and don't be afraid to ask if you're unsure whether attacks or disappearances are paranormal or aren't. 15. Always have a Bible next to your bed. Provides average reading material, proof of beliefs, and a really heavy and effective object to throw at enemies. 16. Don't count on holy water. Get a sturdy vial of sulfuric acid and let a priest consecrate it. 17. Japanese priests cleanse rooms by waving katana swords around. This ritual is 100% effective on corporeal forms. 18. If you find 666 messages on your phone, mailbox, email, etc., consider changing the said service provider. Also, don't bother listening to or reading the messages. It's spam. Extra dimensional? Possibly, but spam nonetheless. 19. Old pharmaceutical companies can't help you, unless you specifically need blood of the innocent, snake oil, and radioactive syrup. Which you don't. 20. If you need to sign it in blood, you don't need to sign it. All mainstream governing bodies will accept contracts signed in ink. Bear this in mind if offered deals that seem too good to be true. 21. Lighthouses are dangerous. Avoid them at all costs. If you work at a lighthouse, consider changing your career to insurance sales or veterinary care. Have you ever read The Skeleton Key? 22. There is simply no reason to listen to music that causes suicidal tendencies. 23. Or to watch films that have strange, disastrous consequences. 24. If you like to plan ahead and have some money, buy your auntie and uncle a house in Bel Air. Nothing can harm you there, no matter how scared your mother is. 25. Secret, secluded, untouched places and old buildings are left untouched for a reason. Pioneers never say die, but in fact, they do have an unusually high mortality rate. 26. Before you start swimming in the ice-cold waters of a murky lake at the center of a dark forest at midnight, ask yourself, do you really want to travel to an ancient and terrifying city? If the answer is no, then stay at home instead and watch whatever quality programming is available on Cinemax. Which means boobs. 27. On your 33rd birthday, try celebrating in a well-lit house with the company of others. 28. Refrain from using the one true name for anything. There's probably a reason people gave it a nick. 29. Watching TV static for long periods may be hazardous to your health. Try satellite TV or Freeview to combat this problem. Netflix and instant streaming is also effective. 30. Get a cat. Those furry little hairballs seem to perceive unnatural phenomenon better than us. And if desperate, simply throw it at whatever is about to get you. 31. Safety in numbers. If you're getting a bit too freaked out, grab a few friends, any and all firearms, and avoid the area in question. 32. Cemeteries are bad places, especially in foggy conditions and on Halloween. 33. Try not to close your eyes. Ever. If you must do so only briefly. If something has moved from its original location in the time that it has taken you to blink, it is recommended that you do not blink ever again, or until you have dealt with said object. Fire is presumably the best method. 34. If you ever find an unmarked tape which contains the file extension .avi, even if it's your favorite kids show, do not, under any circumstances, watch that tape. Now, if the extension is .mts, that's a different matter altogether. 35. If you hear chanting, run until you are out of earshot. 36. If you are too old to play with dolls, you do not need to be anywhere near one of those creepy little fuckers. 37. Legends can offer valuable insight of whether or not to go camping with friends. 38. When babysitting, ascertain the family's tastes and preferences to avoid being killed by poorly selected statues. 39. Even if you are certain that running will not save you, it's always best to try. 40. If you go to buy a used video game, whether it is at GameStop or a garage sale, never ever buy one with a weird looking cartridge. This includes strange colors, ripped off labels with titles written in marker. The latter tends to happen more often than not. For the daring, don't just buy said game to become famous. Your chances of becoming an internet celebrity because of it can only work if you know how to program. You should also be highly suspicious of games priced too cheaply, and bootlegs. 41. If you decide to buy the used game anyway, rip that son of a bitch out of your console the minute it starts acting funny and take a hammer to it. 42. If you ever see a strangely new-looking doorway with a strange face on it in a building you swore you didn't see at first, and the building happens to be an old chateau, don't fucking open it. 43. It's probably best to refrain from looking up on Google's the phrase, "Huskies with grins." You'll just end up having to spread the word. 44. Never allow someone to take a picture of you with an outdated camera. If it's too late, your only bet is to gamble with death, or just trap him in a photo. That works too. 45. Don't play with dolls if they come with a needle or defect, especially a defect. 46. Burn Ouija boards. 47. Never confront animated puppets physically. Subdue them with spells, or they'll come back with minors or a real physical body. 48. If you find yourself unable to escape, dancing may ward off the entity. Doing the hokey pokey is known to ward off curious monsters, but you might have to do the moonwalk to deal with zombies. 49. If you're checking your computer for viruses, and you go too deep into System 32, refrain from clicking on any AVI files. If you do not heed this warning, creepy videos on you, dude. 50. If you see old tapes containing the words happy and or appy, pretend you never saw them. Just go on with your life. It'll just end up invoking some whacked out, choked up director of an old children's show, and you'll end up having to pull some thank you for the ride shit to kill him. If you buy a used camcorder and find the previous owner left one of their tapes inside, refrain from watching that tape no matter how tempting it may be. 52. Be careful when buying an old second-hand TV. 53. If you see a guy with both an incredibly large smile and black and white eyes, extricate yourself from the premises post-haste. 54. Don't go to a friend's house to bake cupcakes if they have random spurts of insanity. 55. Phone companies with low coverages are best avoided. 56. .exe files with strange names are not safe. Don't open them. 57. For the love of Neptune, turn off your fucking faucet when you're done with it. 59. If you are told not to look behind you, it's better to do so, unless you're against a wall. 59. Also, don't listen to anybody who tells you to go to sleep. It's better to run away. 60. If you see a tall man with tentacles, run. 61. Do not enter strange websites. 62. Do not enter strange places. 63. Not even strange videos. 64. If a woman who covers her mouth asks if she's beautiful, tell her she's average. 65. No good can ever come from owning a shiny Pokemon. 66. If you're an intern at the cartoon studio and you happen to be reviewing a new episode, make sure the episode is safe for work before viewing that shit. 67. Don't be so excited when being asked to look behind you. But don't take forever. No reason to keep certain death waiting. 68. Weird shit in Europe won't hurt you in the United States. Leave that to Creeps, Scarecrow, and the Creepy Dark. 69. Weird shit in the United States can't hurt you in Europe. Damn. 70. Should you break Rule 54, there is always a chance of rescue. 71. If your brother is tired of noise, or your close friend has a brother that's like that, refrain from going into his basement unless you want to be tortured, raped, and killed. Especially raped. Isn't that right, MCP? 72. If you buy a memory card and it has saved data on it, delete all the saves. 73. If you get a drawing of Sonic on a disc and the only file on that disc is a .exe file called Sonic, don't play it. Destroy it, or a demonic being that looks like a Sonic plushie might kill you. If you choose not to, well, scar you for life. 74. If you see what appears to be a 12-year-old kid with black shorts, a gray bloody shirt, red shades, dark gray skin, and a maniac grin, do not, under any circumstances, piss him off. Unless you're brave. 75. Always be sure to download Sonic Robo Blast 2 from the official website. 76. Even on Christmas, paranormal shit can happen. 77. Neighbors may have a darker side if they do things that seem off for them. Act normal. 78. In addition to Rule 77, if you hear foreign voices from your body, that means you've been body jacked. 79. If you're an adult and notice that you're being stalked by a guy with a black suit, long arms, and no face, reach for the nearest child and throw him or her at it. And run like hell. 80. If you're a child in the same situation, run like hell before any adult can use you to satisfy the aforementioned being's craving for hunger. If you do not manage to escape before the adult snags you, try bargaining with the Slender Man, that the adult has more delicious flesh. 71. The Slender Man, said monster described in the last two tips, feeds on paranoia. If you remember Slender Man only wants a hug, he won't go after you. But if Slender Man does stalk you, run! 82. If all else fails, give Slender Man $20. And he should leave you alone. 83. Regularly check the back of your neck or base of your skull for a soft bulge that moves when you poke it, to make sure that Worm Jeff hasn't picked you as his host. 84. If you are a police officer, state trooper, FBI agent, or any person of authority, and you have 2 days left until retirement, if you happen to notice anything suspicious or dangerous to health, get the fuck out of there immediately. 85. If you're terrified about how the CreepyPasta Wiki members' pasta is going to end, remember, it is specifically made so that anyone can add or change the story. If you want a happy ending or just a flat-out ending, you have the power to do so. 86. If you're being chased by any creepypasta and feel that you are 100% out of options, attempt to run to wherever Stephen King is doing his next book signing. Your killer would be far too interested in trying to get an autograph to remember what they were doing in the first place. If Stephen King is not in your general vicinity at the time, R.L. Stine is always available. 87. If you are a creepypasta reader and feel like things are getting a little too real, take a break. 88. If you find a magic stick that lets you draw living creatures, don't draw yourself. You may be surprised how pissed off your creations can get at you. 89. If you wake up in the middle of the woods after having fallen asleep, listen to your own heartbeat. Take notice that somebody probably put you there. But don't call the police. Publish a book of it and get a movie deal. 90. If you're being offered an orange by a demon, don't take it. Or follow the step from Rule 89. 91. On the third day of the third month of every 33rd year, seal up all openings to your house unless you want to be eaten by an evil mist. 92. If you notice that you're being stalked by a screaming child in a skull mask, don't always assume the kid's evil. Just be sure to save the bunch of crunch, should you have any. 93. When reminiscing about your favorite kids show on a message board, take a moment to consider if the episodes where all the characters screamed their lungs out was real or not. Also, take a moment to consider if the entire show was real or not. 94. When looking through the mysterious blood-soaked pictures left in your mailbox, make sure to lock your door. 95. Remember, snowmen have feelings too. 96. Stitch is naked. Covering him with a towel will cause him to die. Do so. 97. If your friend disturbingly edits tapes, it's probably a good idea to never try to see him again. 98. If you keep finding broken glass in your home, check to see if the shards match the colors of the glass object that was broken. If it doesn't, run. 99. If Jeff the Killer shows up in your bedroom unarmed and invites you to follow him to his house, for God's sake, don't do it! 100. And to make an even 100, should you notice that your friend has suddenly developed a personality that's a mix between Heath Ledger's Joker and Beetlejuice, he or she is most likely inhabited. It would be best to keep clear of this person until they return to their normal, boring-as-fuck personality. 101. If you encounter a small creature that looks like a mutant four-armed baby with Jeff the Killer's face, don't listen to it. Not even if it offers you gold. 102. Stay far, far away from abandoned amusement parks. 103. Keep Jeff the Killer and Slender Man as far away from each other as possible. Just trust me on this one. 104. If your son starts talking about some sort of doll from any game, do not play the fucking game. Take the gaming system. Play baseball with it. 105. If you do play the game and later you hear any tapping at any place in your home, yell to your child to lock their door, jump from a window. It's wise to then light the house on fire. And yell at your child to lock their door and jump from a window. It is wise to light the house on fire and then jump out the window with your spouse. 106. If you hear your local forest burning down and then decide to turn off your television, sigh and ask your spouse to check out the forest when you convince them. If you see someone that was in the burning forest with no eyelids, a wide smile, just fucking leave. 107. Be atheist, or convert to any religion that isn't monotheism. So when a monster says, "I am God," or an insane man says, "God abandoned us," you will chuckle since there is an overused cliche instead of getting scared by your own broken faith. 108. Always think twice before doing something stupid. 109. If you hear howling in the forest and see a wolf thing flying, don't mess with it, unless you want a blood and flesh donation. 110. If you find an abandoned house in the woods with bright red stairs, a journal, and cat claw marks, and possibly a deer carcass, run for your fucking life! Follow these simple rules and little or massive harm may befall you. Either way, the important thing is to make sure that your tale is told, copied, and pasted repeatedly. And it's also suggested to be read by MrCreepyPasta. Doing so will assure its epicness.